Good evening, everyone. It is 2 p.m. and we are going to start the meeting. Can we start with the flag salute? Yeah.
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, can we please have the roll call?
Mrs. Parenti, Mrs. Schuler,
Here.
Mrs. Zajac,
Here.
Ms. Jeffrey,
Here.
Mr. Nicolay,
Here.
Mrs. Perry,
Here.
Mrs. Quinn,
Here.
Mrs. Reynolds, Mr. Gordon.
Here.
This evening, I would like to introduce our Spanish interpreter, Miss Suzette Carter. If anyone has any interpretation needs, please see her. The New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and attend the meetings of a public body at which any business affecting their interest is discussed and acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of the Act, the board secretary has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, place thereof posted on the bulletin board located in the hallway outside of the administration office. And notice was provided to the Courier News, the Home News, and the Middlesex Borough Clerk. This evening, we have a spotlight of our Middlesex High School Gaming Club.
Good evening, everyone. We want to start by thanking Dr. Freeman and the Board of Education for inviting us to speak tonight. To kick things off, I want to do a quick poll with everyone that's here. Please raise your hand if you have a child or know a child that enjoys playing video games.
All right. Now keep your hands up. If you ever told them to get off the computer, go outside. Now, while going outside is important in helping off the computer, we're here to tell you that there are some benefits to it. And here at Middlesex High School, we'd like to introduce those benefits to you. My name is Nicholas Olenkowski.
And I'm Samir Townsend, and we are both seniors and esports student leaders at Middlesex High School. We are also joined today by our club advisor, Mr. Hull. So, what exactly is esports? Esports, or competitive gaming, is a structured, team-based activity where students compete in organized video game competitions, but it's way more than just playing video games. Esports fosters critical thinking, teamwork, strategic decision-making, and communication skills, all essential in both academic and future careers.
Speaking of careers, esports is a $1 billion industry with job opportunities beyond just being a player. Some of them include content creation, video production, event planning, product management, journalism, software and game development, shoutcasting, marketing and public relations, as well as business and team management. Additionally, colleges are also offering scholarships with a total of $15 million awarded per year in scholarship money.
Middlesex High School is proud to be part of Garden State Esports, the largest scholastic esports league in the country. Here are some key stats from Garden State Esports. 42% of players were not previously involved in any school activities before joining esports. 72% say their esports team motivates them to come to school. 82% say esports programs are a major factor in their college decisions. And 52% of players plan to major in STEM fields. Over 12,000 students from grades 4 to 12 participate across 275 schools in New Jersey alone.
Our program this year at Middlesex High School started off with around a few members, but we grew quickly and now we have over 40 members. We welcome anyone interested in gaming, people who want to compete competitively or people who just like gaming in general. And for our competitive side, we compete in Garden State Esports in 3 seasons. The fall, winter, and spring seasons with 4 teams that compete throughout the year, which compete in Valorant, Overwatch, Super Smash Bros, and Rocket League.
Starting off, our teams have grown massive success. In the Valorant side, they're undefeated against other schools in-person matches, currently 2-0 this season, and defeated last year's champions, which was Merced County High School, in a preseason scrimmage. For the Overwatch, our team captain received the most votes for All-Stars in the first season. For Super Smash Bros, there were strong performances across multiple tournaments. And for the Rocket League, we won the fall mini-season against 12 teams, moving from the Contenders League to the Championship League. Basically like going from minor to major in baseball.
Now to go over some of our more personal stuff from esports, I've been competing in esports since around 2020, 2021. And through that, I have received multiple esports scholarships, most of which being over $20,000 that could be stacked on top of other ones at a school. I've worked with various organizations in content management, team management, community management, and event planning, all of which I still do and even help the school do for our esports team. And I've won multiple awards, such as that Overwatch All-Star one that we were through, and Organization of the Year for an organization I used to work with that was based in the Asian Pacific region.
Alongside with my accomplishments, I used to play for our academy team back in 2023, which started my career here at Middlesex High School, where I now play Valorant as the in-game leader. I have offered from Division 1, 3, and 5 schools alone in colleges. I was a participant of State London, thanks to Nicholas here. I have 7 through 8 years of game experience alone, and I've competed in tournaments that have had prize pools worth $1,000 or more. We've made incredible progress so far, but we're just getting started. Here's what we've been working towards. We're looking to qualify for state championships at Georgian Core University for Rocket League and Valorant. We're looking to expand in-person practices and competitions. Right now, we meet on a bi-weekly schedule for around 2 hours, but students demand for more in-person time, and the sessions are growing. This will require increased financial support for our advisory profession. Lastly, varsity letters in esports. Many schools already recognize esports as a varsity sport. We want to ensure our student athletes receive the same recognition for their dedication and achievement.
Beyond competition, esports could also be seen as a pathway to career exploration and community involvement. Here at Middlesex, we already have a game design class that is offered through our computer science program. But that is just one class related to esports. There could be more done, such as a marketing class, or shoutcasting, event management, content creation, video production. All of those would be really good ideas to bring here. And we would also like to do more community events with the Middlesex community here around esports, because I know a lot of students would be interested in that. I've had some ask me, some ask me about that. And overall, that's just been something that's been suggested to us a lot. And I think it would increase more like community engagement here, more people would feel involved. As well as that, Garden State Esports offers a middle school league. And we would like to introduce that to Mauger to kind of like introduce a feeder program so they could get esports experience. And we could also teach them skills they can use later on.
Well, thank you all for your time and for giving us the opportunity to share our passion for esports. We appreciate your support and helping us grow this program.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to hear that the club has grown to so many members and looking to expand to even more. The next presentation we have is the District Employee of the Month.
Mrs. Reed, please come to the podium. Mrs. Regina Reed is an outstanding educator who exemplifies dedication, intelligence, and compassion. She goes above and beyond to ensure students feel supported and valued, offering extra help to both students and colleagues. Her engaging teaching style fosters confidence and curiosity, making learning accessible to all. Known for her patience and cooperative spirit, Mrs. Reed maintains a positive, collaborative attitude with students, parents, and staff. She creates a welcoming environment where students feel comfortable asking questions and mastering content at their own pace. Her sense of humor brings joy to the classroom, making even challenging situations more enjoyable. A true team player, Mrs. Reed contributes to a positive school culture by sharing ideas and resources. Her unwavering commitment to students and colleagues makes her a deserving candidate for Employee of the Month. Congratulations, Mrs. Reed.
Thank you.
Stay for a picture. Stay for a picture.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so the board does have need to go into an executive session, but before I read this, I'm going to acknowledge that instead of emptying this room, we are going to take the executive session to another room. So please feel free to sit and be comfortable, and we will be back as soon as possible. Pursuant to Chapter 231 PL 1975, also known as the Open Public Meetings Act, authorizing a public body to meet in executive session, private session under certain limited circumstances. And the said law requires the board adopt a resolution at the public meeting before it can meet in such an executive or private session. The Middlesex Board of Education hereby determines that it may be necessary to meet in executive session on March 19th, 2025 to discuss matters involving attorney-client privilege, confidential student matter, or confidential personnel matter. So moved. All in favor? Annette, take the roll.
Mrs. Schuler,
Yes.
Mrs. Bayachek,
Yes.
Ms. Jeffrey. Yes. Mr. Nicolay,
Yes.
Mrs. Perry,
Yes.
Mrs. Quinn,
Yes.
Mr. Thornton.
Yes.
Okay, we will be back as soon as we can. Shall we begin? Okay. Thank you all for waiting. The board has been in executive session for the past 28 minutes for the purpose of discussing confidential matters as outlined in 301. The matters that were discussed will be disclosed to the public as soon as possible once the reason for non-disclosure no longer exists. So moved.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Mrs. Schuler,
Yes.
Mrs. Bayachek,
Yes.
Ms. Jeffrey.
Yes.
Mr. Nicolay,
Yes.
Mrs. Perry.
Yes.
Mrs. Quinn,
Yes.
Mr. Thornton.
Yes.
Okay, as you've noticed, Ms. Parenti is not here this evening, so I am filling in as vice president. And this evening, I do not have any announcements. Thank you.
Good evening. I have two announcements. Just a reminder that Friday is New Jersey Makers Day. It's from 4 to 6:15 at Munger. If you haven't been to Makers Day, it's an excellent event full of stations and fun things. Our teachers do a wonderful job, so if you can come on out, please do. And starting tomorrow night, Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief will be here at the high school at 7 p.m. So that's tomorrow night, Friday, and Saturday night.
Okay, next we have liaison reports. I know, Mr. Thornton, you are new to being the Middlesex County Delegate and the Borough Alliance Liaison. I don't know if you have anything to report yet.
No reports yet.
Okay. Ms. Gomez, you are the Middlesex Public Library representative. Anything?
Good evening, everyone. Yeah, just really quickly, actually, to piggyback on Maker's Day that Dr. Freeman was talking about this Friday at the library. They have Maker March. So they have events happening every Monday through Friday, all throughout March. So if you go on their website, you'll be able to see all the events that are coming up from now until the end of the month.
Okay, and it's not listed, but I am the New Jersey School Board's delegate and legislative representative for District 21 in the state. There was a meeting last Saturday that was virtual. We did have an assemblyman speak. They reviewed some of the bills that are pending and moving forward within the state. When I get the synopsis of the meeting, I will forward it to everyone. And then finally, we have our student representative, Ms. Arshdeep Parma.
Good evening, everyone. Respected board members, my wonderful teachers, parents, and my mom. In the last meeting, if you remember, I mentioned that there. In the last meeting, if you remember, I mentioned that there is a surprise, and hopefully I will share it in the next meeting. And I'm happy to inform everyone present here that today I'm revealing that secret. Random Acts of Kindness Club, under leadership of our advisor, Mrs. D. Nicola, a very hardworking and dedicated teacher with her constant help and volunteering, on March 6, 2025, exactly at 12:15 p.m., I took care of the time, a medical sensation and practicing family medicine physician, Dr. Mike Pershavsky, visited Middlesex High School in his $350,000 worth Ferrari. The car was beautiful. He was one of the best speaker MHS ever had. He shared his medical journey and how he saw social media as an opportunity for him to clear misinformation with his medical information and to connect with a greater audience. Today, he has 1 billion views all over social media and 15.5 million YouTube subscribers. I'm one of them. And I have a speaker over here. Later, he had one-to-one conversation with our students, which was very knowledgeable and motivating. Now, I would request everyone to please have a look over the presentation. Hi. So, as you can see, just in case you don't know who Dr. Mike is, here it is. And I have a very quick short video to describing who he is and to also let everyone know that he was really a famous person who came over here. I hope everyone can hear me.
Dr. Mikhail Varshavsky is a family medicine physician. You have this massive following on YouTube. You're trying to do something different to what ordinary doctors are trying to do.
The news come out that he saved a man's life on a flight to Israel.
Dr. Mike is coming?
Yeah.
Dr. Mike is coming.
Exactly. So he's compassionate, he's knowledgeable. We want to get your take on this.
Dr. Mike is here to show us how it's done.
So now, as all of you know, that Dr. Mike is a very famous medical sensation. And we were very fortunate that on March 6th, he came and visited Middlesex High School. He came from his lunch break. So that was very sweet of him. Usually his cost was $50,000 for 1 hour, but with the help of Ms. D. Nicola, with her long email, where we told her that we are very sweet, diverse, and a little broke school. So we might not be able to have $50,000, but we have kids who are worth of millions and billions of dollars. So, and on February 14th, February 14, 2025, in second period, one of my teachers is here, Mr. Brenner. He saw me, how excited I was when Ms. D. Nicola told me that he's coming. Now I'm telling you a personal story. As everyone knows that I'm new to country, I came here as a sophomore. Being honest, when I came over here, I only knew 2 things. I knew Dr. Mike and I knew Kylie Jenner. I didn't know. She's famous. So when I came over here, I had so many doubts, so many questions, but due to Dr. Mike and his constant dedication and his story of immigration, helped me and taught me that if he can do it, then I can also become the cardiothoracic surgeon in country America. And because I'm always passionate and I want to help so many people, and I've always had this perspective that medicine, doctors goes with money. That this guy broke it, and I'm 100% true that I'll be one of him. I'll also not look for money because it's very rare that a doctor comes in Ferrari. He came in Ferrari because he's also a professional boxer. So he get a money from there. But also to tell that he was my mentor to come to America. So this was a very personal event for me. And that's why I was very happy and excited. And thank you, Ms. Nicola, for listening to me, for listening me for 1 year when I was helping her. And please, can we call him? And then she listened to me and then we were able to call him. Now I'm going to show one of the presentation. When he came here, right over here, he said all of this and he went back and I don't know what he was thinking, but he made a one video out of it. He told us his medical journey, how his mother's death from cancer made him to become a doctor, and how he is breaking misinformation all over the world. So I have another quick short video about what he has been doing in the world. So.
Now, over 1,000 videos later, our viewership has created opportunities I never saw coming. We've done videos with leading experts, top athletes, the sitting vice president, went on a tour with a live show, made some new friends and some enemies, started a podcast, built an international team, and we've raised hundreds of thousands of dollars for charity, all without ever giving up my job actually practicing medicine. More importantly, I've reached more of you in a time where misinformation is spiraling out of control. We now have billions of views accurately breaking down an endless amount of medical topics. I get messages all the time about the content bringing families together or about lives being saved because of me banging on about chest compression. Together, we built something bigger than I ever imagined possible. And here's the thing, we're just getting started. Stay curious, stay informed, and as always, stay happy and healthy.
So, a little more information about Dr. Mike. He's a board-certified family medicine physician, a professional boxer. All the money he gets from boxing goes to charity. So he's a huge charity giver, and that's something which I always appreciate about him. He's a well-known model, and he's trained to being a Ferrari challenge race car driver. And he also do podcasts. So now when I'm telling you about podcasts, these are not those kind of podcasts where you talk about some random things. The podcasts are about serious things, like about vaccines or about how the presidents are going to help our country for, let's say, women's healthcare. So podcasts which are really very important and valuable. His videos usually focus about the things which you and me, like public, we have questions about medical and we cannot go and spend time 1 or 2 hours with our doctors. So we ask him questions over the comment section and he answers all the questions. And he breaks down misinformation. That's very important, which we are lacking nowadays. And here are the pictures. I'm not lying. He really came. And it's Ferrari.
Or Steve, you said he came during his lunch period. Does he practice medicine around here?
He practices in Summit, New Jersey. He did his residency, I think, at Overlook. At Overlook. So, as I told you, that he came from his lunch break, so he couldn't have a formal audience. He wanted to have a short, quick presentation. So, me and Ms. Nicola, we decided to have like 50 to 60 kids who are really interested to go in healthcare or who are confused because we have more seniors who are applying to colleges. So am I. And we are now, we are choosing our career paths. So over here, we had 50 to 60 kids who wants to go in medicine, and they asked him so many questions like, how can I know if medicine is for me? Or why I have to go in this field, or many more questions about him. And it was a very, very knowledgeable conversation he gave us over here. He wanted to stay for half hour, but he stayed here for 50 minutes, and that was very nice of him. And that's me. Just in case if you don't know that I'm really his big fan, I have him on my wallpaper. And Dr. Mike, he also posted on his Instagram, as he says, so awesome to see such engaged student excited about healthcare. And our Middlesex High School, we also posted a picture. Here's a fun fact. We got first time what's that number? I'm bad with saying numbers.
180,000.
180,000 views. And we got 450 likes. That have never happened in Middlesex High School system, by the way. So, just to sum up everything, he came, he motivated many people. I remember the kids, 10 to 50 kids came in the auditorium in the library saying that they're not sure what they have to do with their career, and they left with saying that they're going in healthcare. And this was very good for high school. So maybe 10 to 20 years from now, you will see doctors who are created from Middlesex High School, all because this one speaker changed their perspective forever. And at the end, I'll say thank you to the board members who gave us permission to bring him, and to my hardworking teachers who helped us in bringing the speakers in, and of course, Miss Dee Nicola, who always supported the Kindness Club. Random Act of Kindness Club was behind bringing it. We only have 7 kids in the club, but we still was able to bring such an expensive speaker in it. So at the end, I'll say thank you to all the hardworking teachers, Miss Dee Nicola, and to the board. Thank you.
We all think you're amazing.
Thank you.
Very fortunate that you chose Middlesex.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Our business administrator, board secretary, Ms. Giordano, do you have any announcements? Okay. So this evening, the next item is to approve the minutes. The superintendent recommends approval of the minutes as presented. The committee of the whole meeting from February 18th, the committee of the whole executive session from February 18th, the regular public meeting from February 19th, the regular public meeting executive session, February 19th, and the special public meeting from 3/11/25. So moved.
Second.
Any questions? Okay, Annette, please call the roll.
Mrs. Schuler,
Yes.
Mrs. Deitch,
Yes.
Ms. Jeffrey. Yes. Mr. Nicolay,
Yes.
Mrs. Perry.
Yes.
Mrs. Quinn,
Yes.
Mr. Thornton.
Yes.
Okay, so I did mess that motion up. I apologize. It also was to include the corrections and revisions from previous board agendas. That is 5.02. So I am going to actually ask if there's any questions about those revisions and ask the roll to be called again because I messed that up. Sorry. Any questions? Can we call the roll again?
Mrs. Schuler,
Yes.
Mrs. Deitch,
Yes.
Ms. Jeffrey.
Yes.
Mr. Nicolay,
Yes.
Mrs. Perry. Mrs. Quinn,
Yes.
Mr. Thornton.
Yes.
Okay. So this is the first of 2 opportunities for the public comment. The guidelines are that the comments at this time are limited to agenda items only. Please come to the podium and put your name, address, and email address and subject of your comment in the record book. Before speaking, please provide us your name and address and subject to our business administrator. Direct your comments to myself as acting board president, and you may speak on 2 separate topics for up to 3 minutes each.
Good evening, board members. Archie, I'd like to thank you again for bringing Dr. Mike in. I thought that I was up there too. That was a blast of experience. Glad to have you as a big fan and bring it in. That was awesome. My first question tonight is on the second reading of the public speaking, public section policy bylaw. I'm sure there's a proper word for it. Under the new proposed bylaw, it's the same bylaw with additional information. Under the 3rd paragraph, under the public participation may be covered by the following rules. Paragraph 3 states, under the conclusion of the participant's remark, the presiding officer will acknowledge the participant's remarks and may respond and/or direct administration to respond to an inquiry following the participant's remark or the conclusion of the public participation session. Nowhere in the new revision, and nowhere does it say, I hope this isn't what you're trying to enforce, is that it almost requires the presiding officer, usually the president, obviously you in this case, Mr. Schuler, it doesn't allow board members anywhere. It doesn't allow board members to respond to comments. Is that how the bylaw was intended to be read?
Is that your only question, or do you have a second one?
I have a statement.
Okay.
So that's the first question.
So I will say that sitting in the board president spot, I speak for the board at this table. So that is why it is written the way it is written. It is modeled off of many other districts' policies.
And then my statement, I guess, would be on 501 of the minutes. From the last meeting, I talked about how there was, I'm not trying to start a beehive here and have a bunch of comments about the contract, but I'm referring to the minutes. Last meeting, I mentioned the teachers, I roughly paraphrasing here, I said they had no contract, and they had, and I said it was all times to get a contract. I was corrected and told they don't have a contract, they just have an expired one. But I think it's just disingenuous to say that when I think anyone would argue you have no contract. You don't get a raise. Eggs could go tomorrow, and none of these teachers work another 6 months. And if they don't have a contract, they will never get a raise. And that's, I can go on a tangent, but I'm going to stop and reserve myself in the second public comment section. That's all I have to say about that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Laura Thomason. I would like to know if you could tell me how many campers were enrolled in the summer camp last year, and if the tuition that is collected pays for all the fees involved, salaries, trips, whatever. Probably something we have to look into, but
We would have to look into that to confirm, but I believe that for the last 3 years, the community school has been self-sustaining and funded fully from the monies brought in.
okay. And I know that the tentative budget is being sent to the Department of Education, and then it gets reviewed and it gets returned. What are the steps that happen after that?
Once it gets returned, we do review it. We do have a public hearing that will be on April 24th. And at that time, we would vote to approve the agenda as it is presented that night.
Okay, so the public will have input on the 24th of April.
You are always welcome to make comment.
Okay. And I've said several times at meetings that all of us here are cutting back because money is tight. Don't go to Starbucks 5 days a week, go 2. And it kind of upsets me when I see that extra money was put into the budget for travel and conference. I would hope that if you go to those things, that possibly you could go to ones that are local, that you didn't have to stay overnight, and that money wouldn't have to be spent on that. We're all trying to come back, and I would hope that you guys would too.
Thank you for your comment.
Jeremiah Carnes, 120 Shepherd Ave, Middlesex. Get better at my handwriting. This comment for this part just is something that entered my mind. We keep being told that Vishua, that you're in charge, that you answer for the board at this moment, and that there's examples of the school that you did it. Is there a way that I can get an email? Because it's hard for me to communicate this answer when I get questions about what's happening. I try to direct them to you as much as possible, but people are having a problem finding your emails on your email site. There are no emails with your name. They can't get a hold of you. They get a runaround with a subscribe system. This is stuff I'm hearing. I'm trying to communicate on the best. So you're saying that there's examples that are picked. What are those examples? And that means there's other examples. So you can communicate, but this is the form that you're choosing to communicate to better enforce the enroll, which I think should be respected overall. But they're in my overall, I mean, there's people that are upset that they can't talk to their elected representatives. I don't know what to say to that, besides I'm communicating that to you. So you're adopting these rules when there are other choices to choose from, and it's like you're not really even giving that a cost. But I'm trying to say, like, I understand where you're coming from. I think people should give you guys the benefit of the doubt as well. But that being said, there are other choices. I think that should be a strong effort put to, like, people feel like they can talk to who they put their trust in. And people don't feel like they're talking to who they put their trust in, there's a consequence, but then it can get overwhelmed. I get a lot of emails. I simply forward, like, oh, I'm not the right person. Let me text you this way. It takes 5 minutes out of my day. Email settled. Somebody calls me, 5 minutes out of my day, it's settled. I'm open for you guys. People call me because I'm now the board of liaison. I've gotten several calls about the board and how you guys operate. Not my place to answer for you. I explained this, that we're different organizations, that things go on. As we move on for the tax probation, one of the bigger answers is going to be where the $4 million is coming from. I'm a little lost where you're on the agenda because my brain goes crazy sometimes. But that I think is going to be very fair to the people on a constitutional right to, like, speak and be free, to have that freedom of conversation, but to respect the organization and the framework that you guys have to communicate with us. There just needs to be more effort on that because people they're confused. And when you can't create confusion, there's distrust, there's the appearance of unethical or ethical behavior that people talk about it. They're talking about it now. And that's just the truth of what's out there in their perception. So the more, I guess you would say, open you are to listen to the people, the more they will support and love you. So what I have heard, even though it's really hard at times. But yeah, I'm gonna shut up now and move on with the meeting. I need to put my email, because I've never done that.
If you can, that way,
Yes, ma'am.
thank you. And thank you for your comments, and I remind everyone this first opportunity is for agenda items only, and we will have a second opportunity for public comment later.
Everyone, last month, that is awkward to talk and then sit this down. Okay, I am actually not here to comment on the agenda, but luckily, the budget for next year was added, even though I thought that was gonna be next month. That's fine, I actually appreciate being able to see the requests earlier. As you know, I am a teacher in district as well as a resident. And as was stated at last meeting, we do not have a successor agreement, so no teachers received a raise. So I'm sure myself and most of the other people in this room in September had to sit down with their family and say, listen, there's no more money coming. We are what we are. Prices are going up. Things are more expensive. And there's no extra money coming. It's now March. We're still doing that. Price of eggs? Yeah, it did double. Okay? You guys as a board need to sit down as a family and say, there's no more money coming. You're draining everyone. You're getting $800,000 extra from the state. You have, from what I saw from the presentation last night, an increase for instructional salaries, yet you haven't settled a contract. So I don't even know how you could factor that in. Hopefully that gets settled the 24th. But asking for a 2% increase just across the board, no. Sit down as a family and go through and figure out where you could cut. My family, we didn't cut the bottom. We didn't cut the everyday. Your teachers who are here every day, we cut from the top, okay? The luxury. That's what you guys need to do. I think asking for a 2% increase right now is actually insulting. And I hope that you will really consider to go back, go through, do the work, and figure out where you can say, hey, you know what, guys? You elected us, and we got you, okay? We're getting an extra $800,000 from the state. We're going to put that to the best use, and we're going to go through and see where we can make some changes so that, you know what, everyone in town gets what they need, but you're not getting killed on your taxes, okay? Thank you.
comments on agenda items? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to close that portion of the meeting and move on to the personnel report from our chairperson, Mr. Nicolai.
Thank you, Mrs. Schuler. Personnel Committee met last Tuesday on the 11th.
Okay, I'm sorry. Oh, I apologize. One moment.
No problem.
Oftentimes, it may appear to members of our audience that the Board of Education takes action with little comment and in many cases, a unanimous vote. Before a matter is placed on the agenda at a public meeting, the administration has thoroughly reviewed the matter with the superintendent of school. If the superintendent is satisfied that the matter is ready to be presented to the Board of Education, it is then referred to the appropriate board committee. The members of the board committee work with the administration and the superintendent to assure that the members fully understand the matter. When the committee is satisfied with that matter, it is presented to the Board of Education for discussion before any final action is taken. Only then is it placed on the agenda for action at a public meeting. Again, sorry, I haven't led a meeting in a while. The personnel report from Mr. Nicolai.
Thanks again. Yes, the Personnel Committee met last Tuesday on the 11th. The superintendent recommends approval of personnel action items 9.1 through 9.13 as presented. So moved.
Second.
Okay, are there any questions, discussion? Seeing none, Ms. Giordano, please call the roll.
Mrs. Schuler?
Yes.
Mrs. Basham?
Yes.
Ms. Jeffrey?
Yes.
Mr. Nicolai?
Yes.
Mrs. Perry?
Yes.
Mrs. Quinn?
Yes.
Mr. Thornton?
Yes.
Okay, next we have a report of the Education Committee from our chair, Ms. Perry.
Thank you. Superintendent recommends the approval of the education action items 11.1 through 11.13 as presented. So moved.
Any questions or discussion? Oh, do we have a second? Thank you. What happens when Trish isn't here? Okay, any questions or discussions? Seeing none, Ms. Giordano, please call the roll.
Mrs. Schuler?
Yes.
Mrs. Basham?
Yes.
Ms. Jeffrey? Mr. Nicolai?
Yes.
Mrs. Perry?
Yes.
Mrs. Quinn?
Yes.
Mr. Thornton?
Yes.
Okay, our policy action items. This evening, we do not have any first readings. The second reading is the bylaw for the public participation in board meetings revision. We also have a variety of adoptions of the bylaws that we already had a first and second reading on. So this evening, I would like to make a motion to approve items 12.1 to 12.3 as presented. Thank you. Any questions or discussion on any of the items? I know we did discuss some of these at late last night, so I'm glad we got everyone's questions answered. Ms. Giordano, please call the roll.
Mrs. Schuler?
Yes.
Mrs. Basham?
Yes.
Ms. Jeffrey? Mr. Nicolai?
Yes.
Mrs. Perry?
Yes.
Mrs. Quinn?
For 12.2, I'm gonna say no, and for the rest of it, I will say yes.
Mr. Thornton?
Yes, on everything except 12.2, I think there needs to be some more clarification on the addition to the bylaw.
Okay, but I believe that is still 5 yes votes, correct? So the motion does carry. And we do have an opportunity to speak about that policy again, as that was the second reading and it is not up to adoption. So if you have questions, please get that to us. Okay. Next, we have the Finance and Facility Committee Chair, Mr. Nicolay.
Thank you, Sharon. Facilities and Finance Committee also met last Tuesday after the Personnel Committee. Superintendent recommends approval of Facilities and Finance action items 14.01 to 14.12. So moved.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second, and I believe we have a presentation, correct? Oh, no, we didn't vote on it. We're not voting on it yet. So we did have this presentation last evening, but we felt that there was not a lot of people in the audience, so we asked for it to be presented again this evening.
I need a few minutes. Michelle. Okay. I'm Dr. Roberta Freeman. I'm the superintendent of schools. And last evening, we did present Portrait of a Budget of a Graduate. Please excuse my back. Portrait of a Graduate, the 25-26 budget presentation. So, sorry that this is a repeat, but let's do this, okay? Take a minute, and I need you to think about your why. Remember a few years ago, we came together as a board, and we sat down and we talked about our why, and we discovered something very unique when we did that. Who would like to share their why? Go ahead, Sharon.
I didn't pull it up.
Don't leave
So
her hanging.
I'm not, yeah, anyone else want to jump in?
Don't leave her hanging. Shannon, I see you have your phone. Our wives.
Kids.
The students, okay. Anyone else?
So at the time, it was back in October of 2023, I believe, was to make sure all children have access to high-quality education, to make sure that all stakeholders' concerns are heard and are viewed, and to use my voice to speak for those who cannot. Shannon, did you have anything?
So I said that I serve on the BOE
because I want to make a positive change to our educational system. Also, I want to help influence the fiscal health of our district. It is important to know where, why, and how taxpayer money is spent. And that was, I think, what, 2002 or 3? You said this? 23, yes.
Anyone else want to share their why?
Yes, sure.
Go ahead,
I
Mr.
thought about this
Thornton.
all last night. The reason why, kids are the number one important thing in this town, in any town, in any community. They're our future. They should be given that top-notch education, not only that they need, but they deserve. And we have to remember where we all came from. We all came from different backgrounds, but we have to remember where we came from. We have to remember when times were tough, when, guess what, you gotta suck it up. There's ways to spend money and being fiscally responsible at the same time. And I ran because of that. I got on the boards because we have to be fiscally responsible, not only to the kids mostly, but their parents that are out there struggling. A lot of parents out there struggling. And guess what? I'm tired of seeing people struggle. That's why I ran. That's why I'm here.
Anyone else want to share their why? So because I can never do the same lesson twice, that's what all great teachers do. We change it up, we switch it up. So remember, the year after that, we set an intention. And our intentions were one word. What's one word when you think about our students? What's that one word? Your intention. Anyone? Popcorn it out.
Mindset.
Mindset.
Success.
Success.
Growth.
Growth. Safety. Equality. So why are we talking about our whys? And why are we talking about our intentions? Because when you find your why, you'll find your way. And that's what we've been doing for the past couple of years. We've been we found our why, and now we're finding our way. And that intention that we worked on, it sets the course for us to find our way. So tonight when we go through the budget, I encourage you to not think dollars and cents. Don't think dollars and cents. We should think about our students because that's our why. 2 years ago when we started this work, we built this city. And when we built this city, when we were talking about the district, it was about building the infrastructure of the district. So there were many things that were put into place to build up the infrastructure. There were many things that were not present in this district that were needed, severely needed, to help going back to the students. This year, nothing's going to stop us now was the theme because we built the infrastructure and then it was about systems. Building those systems that were lacking and getting rid of systems that no longer serve us. So what are the initiatives that occurred over those past 2 years? The portrait of a graduate starts in preschool. It doesn't start at high school in the senior year. It starts in preschool. So when we think about those long-term and short-term goals, we had a long-term goal last year as a district that we wanted to provide tuition-free pre-K to our families. Tuition-free. Because at the time, we were running a 2.5-hour pre-K program half day. So we applied for preschool expansion aid, and this time last year is exactly when we received the notice that no, we didn't get it. So as a long-term goal, we said, okay, that's where we want to go, but what can we do in the meantime? Because there were many things that were happening in our kindergarten classes. And I'm sure some of the kindergarten teachers are in here, and you can attest to the things that were occurring. So a short-term fix was in last year's budget, we included teacher assistants to assist classrooms of 25 so that learning would continue. As a result, that's exactly what is happening this year. We have TAs in every classroom in our kindergarten classrooms. And Ms. Gomez, can I call on you for a second? How are we looking?
I mean, we talked about this last night, but looking at our kindergarten, besides the fact that we do have the TAs in the classroom and talking to the teachers about how much further they are at this point compared to where they were in the past, is exponential. But also with the new resource that we're using, CKLA, our kindergarten classrooms have grown from first benchmark to second benchmark. Some classrooms almost 50%, some over 60%. One classroom from 12% to 94% of our kindergarten students are at or above grade level in reading already in kindergarten. So just exponential growth.
So to continue that growth, the preschool budget, which is separate from the district budget, next year will service 75 preschool students. It will continue to be a full-day, 6-hour program. The program being used in pre-K, Connect for Learning, C4L, we are fortunate to work with the developers of that program, and they work directly with our students, our teachers. Preschool instructional coach that's in place this year will continue to be in place, a preschool social worker, very targeted, this program. Robust professional learning and enriching learning activities for our teachers, for our students. So the success, that short-term goal that we had where we put the teacher assistants in kindergarten, we've seen success. Hopefully we'll see even bigger success as we roll this out. Initiatives in elementary and intermediate. These are all things that are included in this budget, continue to be included in this budget. Teacher assistants, as I just said, specialized programming, amplified core knowledge language arts, that's our CKLA program, that resource that we use. New this year being implemented across all K-5 classrooms. Guided mathematics, Dr. Nikki was in district today. Another researcher that comes to our district, work with our teachers, giving them that job-embedded professional development so that they can do what they do best, to give them the resources that they need and the support that they need so that our children are succeeding. Research-based science and social studies resources, benchmarking and data warehousing, robust professional learning, research-based supplemental programming. These aren't extras, these are essentials, and they are included in the budget. Middle school initiatives. We had an exploratory committee this year in which the middle school teachers examined language arts materials for next school year. As part of that committee, they reviewed several different resources, and they have come to select Amplify English. This came directly from the teachers, and then it will be rolled out next year. That's included in the budget. What we have realized with our middle school scores is that they need some work, and they need a strong foundation. And this resource will assist with building that foundation. Extended day initiatives are built into this program because, like I just said, our middle school scores, they need a little help. So working with that administrative team, Dr. Christofferson, she explained that there needs to be a little bit more extended day activities. There should be something in place because currently there are no extended day activities academic for students. So building that into the budget. 2 years ago, we started the extended year initiatives in which they run, it's like a summer school in the summertime. That's included in the budget. Specialized programming, again, benchmarking and data warehousing, the same thing that was under elementary and preschool. Those initiatives will continue. And those are the things that support our teachers and also support our students. High school, putting supports in place for block scheduling, innovative programming. We saw the esports club, we saw that. So we are listening. And how do we extend that? How do we make it even bigger? Specialized programming, benchmarking, same thing. Robust professional learning, research-based supplemental programming, and supporting student growth. With that, that's our, last year we put in place our counselor, Mrs. Jungles, who, prior to her coming on staff, we contracted with the Bright program for Rutgers. A very expensive program and a program that serviced our student needs, but we felt as if they could do better. When examining the cost of that program and hiring our own person, it was more cost effective to hire our own person. Last night when she presented to the board, she shared how many cases that she works with, how many students that she works with. And just the fact of having a licensed clinical social worker here in district to assess and help with the needs of our students is tremendous. So with the students in mind, let's review the numbers of 25-26. Ms. Giordano?
I need to get closer so I can see.
Okay, the first slide here is the general fund revenue. And again, this does not include any preschool aid from the state. It does not include any federal or state grant programs that have separate purposes. As you can see, the proposed tax levy is up 2%. The state aid is up 4.62%. Miscellaneous revenues, which is pretty much just interest income, any fees that we collect, fines, anything like that. So not a large number at all. That's up 6%. Prior year surplus, that is usually we try to get $1 million in the budget every year. That is purely funds that we have that are due to cost savings in the prior year. The state makes us take that in as a revenue every year. Then we have the maintenance reserve. This is the first year that we're using maintenance reserve. On the book, we have a maintenance reserve and we have a capital projects reserve. Maintenance is exactly what it is. It's titled. It's for maintenance projects. This year we'll do PA systems, new PA systems throughout the buildings. And then the other item here, capital reserve, as I said, that's for capital projects. And that will be taken in as a revenue. And we have slated to do a new roof in the section of Mauger and also the parking lot at Parker School. And that is the total of the general fund revenue. So then on the other side of the equation, the revenue has to equal the appropriations, and the appropriations are what we spend the money on. We have instructional salaries. We have support services salaries. Support service salaries are child study team, guidance, media, things like that. Then we have administrative salaries. That would be business office, superintendent's office, tech office, and what am I missing? Oh, school administration, principals, secretaries, things like that. Employee benefits were up 11%. We dodged a bullet on that one because if we had been in the state health benefits program, it would have been 25%. The increase would have been 25%. Out of district tuition, that is down a little bit, but we did not have room in this year's budget to budget for contingency students. Usually we plan on a few coming in, maybe families who move into the district or students who are new placements and they need either therapeutic services, medical services, things like that. So in next year's budget, there's only 2 spaces budgeted for new students out of district. Transportation expenditures, that's up 2.3%. Other expenditures, that would be supplies, athletics, extracurricular activities, things like that. That's budgeted at 2.6. And then I have the capital outlay, which is the capital projects I spoke of, the roof at Augur and the parking lot at Parker, and that's up 22%. And that's the appropriation side. So this is what's included in the budget. There's really nothing new. It has everything that was in previous budgets. It has the district-wide upgrades to the PA systems, which I said is being paid for from the maintenance reserve account. The trailer rental at Watchung is actually new. Watchung is very, very crowded, and we need a classroom that the current WIN teachers use, and they have that classroom broken into small areas. So we need to put a full class in there. So in the trailer, the WIN teachers and the special teachers will be able to have a space to hang their hat, and they'll do small group instruction in there. Replacement of the sound system at Parker, I talked about that a little bit. And then I have the capital projects, the roof and the parking lot. Okay.
It's gonna come on again, sorry.
Okay.
Part 2!
That's fun. Okay. This is just a pie chart with the breakout of the appropriations that we saw on the other slide. As you can see, the majority of the budget is instructional salaries, and then we have other expenditures, as I said, athletics, extracurricular activities, clubs, and et cetera. Classroom supplies are in there, things like that. Out of district tuition is 6% of the budget. Employee benefits is 15% of the budget. That's quite a large number. So again, I'm really glad that it didn't end up being that 25% increase there. Administrative salaries are 6.7%. Support services, child study team guidance, et cetera, is 8.6% of the budget. And then capital outlay is at 3.4%.
We're gonna change tomorrow. I got it.
Ms. Gomez, gotta be
Terrible. Okay, this is from the state of New Jersey. When our state aid notice comes out, there's a lot of calculations. It's like a 10-page document. And this is purely how they calculate what our budget should be given our enrollment and what they project our enrollment to be as of October 2025. And then it calculates what the state aid portion of our budget should be. And fortunately, as of this year's budget and also in next year's budget, we are fully funded. For a long time, state aid fell short of what was supposed to be given to districts, but now we're fully funded. So on the left side, my left side, that's the calculation of what our general fund budget should be, and they have a per pupil amount, and as you can see, there's weighted averages for at-risk students and special education students and LEP students, and the final calculation by the state is that the budget should be 46.8 million, and then on this side of the equation, they calculate what the state share of that should be. And then at the bottom, it calculates the local fair share, and the local fair share comes out to 32,974,000. And then on this slide, this also comes from the state. It's not part of the state aid notice, but this is actually out of the budget software where all the information is input. There's probably 50 different tabs that need to be filled out, if you will, and they all cross-check, and there's edit checks, and it all needs to tie together. But this calculates district adequacy, and it's called district status, and pretty much adequacy just indicates whether we are spending that amount per pupil that the state wants us to spend, and if the state aid is adequate, and if the local fair share is adequate. And according to the state calculations, we are short by $3.8 million.
So the impact of a fully funded budget, innovation in our schools, expansion and access to success. That's for a fully funded budget. And this is where the song was supposed to come in, but that's okay. All of that put together, a portrait of a graduate is someone who will change the world. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for reading your presentation. And as Mr. Nicolay had presented earlier, he did make a motion and it was seconded to move the agenda items as noted. Does anyone have any questions or discussions on the agenda items in finance and facilities?
Can I just say a quick comment before the vote? I just want to let my fellow board members know that I've been really looking over the budget and going past years of, how the spending has gone. And I do admire us having this vision for everything in the future, but I'm sorry, but for this person here, like, I have to look at numbers and I have to see where our money is going. And it scares me that we keep increasing the budget because it's gone up from 45 to 53 this year. And these are just estimates I've got. I went back and looked at the minutes on the budget that we voted on. And I just was hoping that we didn't have to do the 2% increase and that maybe we could do the 1%. So I just wanted to make this statement before I place my vote so that you all understand where I'm coming from. Thank you.
Thanks, Sharon.
Okay. I appreciate your comments, but I do also want to make note that what we are voting on this evening is to send the budget to the county for the county to review it. It needs to be submitted by midnight tonight. So it is going to the county and then it does come back and we vote on the final budget on April 24th. Okay, any other questions or comments?
Yes, I agree with what Shannon was saying. We have too many, I'm looking at all these, since I've been elected on some of the budgets and some of the projects that are just sitting out there or they're in the process of doing. They cost money. We're spending money that the town does not have. Plain and simple. It does not have. We got a 1.64% budget increase from the state. That's what it worked out as opposed to the percentage-wise on the budget. There, not only are my family, people in the town, the employees of the town, and we can continue because it's every other town is the same position. We can't keep on raising taxes. We got to do more with less and figure it out. Plain and simple. And it can be figured out. There's work to be done. Let's get to work.
Any other comments or discussions before we vote? Okay, Ms. Giardina, please take the vote on finance and facilities.
Mrs. Schuler,
Yes.
Mrs. Mayacek,
Yes.
Ms. Jeffrey,
Yes.
Mr. Nicolay,
Yes.
Mrs. Perry,
Yes.
Mrs. Quinn,
For 14, 12, no, and yes for the rest.
Mr. Thornton,
For 1410, 1411, 1412. No. Yes for the rest.
Okay, I believe we needed 5 and we did get 5, so the motion does pass. This evening, I would like to ask if any board members have any new business. Seeing none, any ongoing business we would like to discuss? Okay, seeing none, now we get to the fun part. This is the public comment section that is open to any topic. Your comments at this time can be on any topic. Please come to the podium and put your name, address, and email address and subject of your comment into the record book. Please speak your name and address for the business administrator's records. Direct your comments directly to myself as acting president, and you may speak on 2 separate topics for up to 3 minutes each.
My name is Mr. Zarnak. I live at 5 Princeton Drive. And I sat here last night listening to the budget. Oh, sorry.
Is it turned on?
Yeah.
Is it green?
Green.
Okay.
Okay. I'm trying to be closer.
Thank you.
So I sat here last night listening to the budget. So help me understand something. This budget is going to go to the county. They're going to review it. Do they make recommendations, or do they just say, oh, okay, we'll send it back if the town thinks that they can increase our taxes by that much, then, okay? Is that what happens, or what does it go there for?
Yeah, yes, please.
Under the statute, it's the School Reform Act of 2008, actually. So it's the SF School Funding Reform Act of 2008. The county reviews it for provision of a thorough and efficient education. So it does what's called a T&E review. So it looks at the budget and determines whether the budget is balanced and whether, in the county's estimation, the way that it is structured will provide for T&E, which is actually implementing the what used to be the core curriculum content standards, which is now the New Jersey Learning Standards.
Okay. So will they make recommendations back to
They
you?
may.
Okay.
Sometimes they do. Sometimes they actually will direct modifications. Sometimes they will just say it's fine, if it is their professional judgment.
Okay. And then after that, you're gonna have this meeting here
Yes.
to present to us.
It then gets advertised.
Again?
It's a public hearing, correct?
Okay. And do you vote on it then?
Yes.
Okay.
Then we vote.
So
to
when you vote
approve the
on it
budget.
and then it comes out that you don't have enough money, right? Then our taxes just automatically go up if that's what happens. You go, where do you get the money? The surplus money. Yeah, I get it. But what?
No,
Like,
sorry.
Is it out of our taxes?
The way you would get the state aid that you get,
Right.
and then you have a local fair share. And basically the way that it's structured is what the state says you need, which is based on your weighted enrollment and your student population. versus what the state says you can afford to pay based on an equalized value, which is both your property value and income. And then that equals your, and you subtract those two things, one from the other, and then that gives you what your state aid is. And then you also have your local fair share. And then when you have a November election, so long as you stay within the 2% cap, with only adjustments for additional health care and pension benefits, if you have any, but I don't think
We don't have
this
any.
budget.
No.
Then it stays within the 2% cap, then there is no public vote.
So they could raise it 2%.
Okay, yes,
Yes.
now I get it, okay. So then, that is where the board is the most important part to us as citizens of Middlesex. Right?
Okay.
So my statement is, I think I did vote for each and every one of you up here. And I would appreciate it very much if you would take an example from this young lady who was worked her little butt off to get this doctor that was going to cost $50,000 to come here for nothing. Let her be your example to do that.
My name is Nicole Luciano. I live at 20 Princeton Drive, and I am here to speak about the issues going on at Hazelwood School. I will get right to the point. You, as the board and the superintendent, have a responsibility to make sure our children are getting the proper education they deserve. Our anger and frustration stem from the lack of communication and the lack of planning from our so-called leadership. Let's start with the fact that one of your second grade teachers went out on medical leave. Obviously unpredictable. But then the fact that there was no plan in place for a maternity leave, which left 2 second grade classes with no long-term subs until we spoke up. While we appreciate you putting Ms. Heish in their classroom, just curious why the job wasn't given to her in the first place. You have the children coming home, crying, not wanting to go to their school because you couldn't decide on a teacher for them. The substitutes that are in these classrooms are not up to standard. And I encourage you to go into those classrooms when they have substitutes. If your 8-year-old came home to you every day crying and not wanting to go to school after she loved going to school, you would be up here crying yourself. It is disheartening. I know I've spoken with a few of you. You know where my tears are coming from and where my frustration is coming from. And the anger part of this is they have not had technology or music all year. Where is their grade coming from on that report card? Because they're playing a computer program with them? Because they're playing a music program on their computer. That counts as their music class? I don't think so. Especially when the other classes in the other elementary schools are getting music. That is unfair. We should not be getting the short end of the stick. And we should not be getting these notifications after the fact that Miss Slim was leaving. Okay, I understand she had a better opportunity, but those children that utilized her didn't even get to say a proper goodbye. Miss Maureen, also we found out about after the fact. The students adored her. There was not one goodbye party from anybody in that school. That is so disrespectful. And I left you a phone call. I left you a message. You called me back at 2:47 when you knew I was picking up my children. And I had the courtesy of calling you back and still not one phone call back. So I appreciate that, Dr. Freeman, I really do. And as parents, we just want the clear communications, answers, and education that our children deserve. If you are to walk into any one of these schools, you would see clearly that these teachers are working their butts off without a contract. They are not feeling respected by you as the board or the superintendent, and that they deserve to get raises. They are the ones that need the money in their pocket, not all of you. I can only say this, and I've said it before, this is the tip of the iceberg. You are not being fiscally sound with the teachers at all, and there is a shortage. Last night on the show, there is an 87% increase in administration across this country and an 8% decrease in teachers. And the reason being is because when you work in administration, you make the money. When there's no teachers in the classroom, you will hear parent after parent coming up here because it's happening. There are how many openings already at the high school? And when we lose a teacher in whatever field it is, there's nobody there. You can't get anybody because there's nobody there. But what if the gratitude and respect on opening day were extended to contract negotiations, where you actually sat in the room with us instead of not, and actually got down to the business of negotiating instead of hiding in another room? What if the gratitude and respect on opening day meant that the $7.1 million the governor gave you for teacher retention and staff retention was actually used for what it was meant? What if the 4.65% increase in state aid that you are getting for this upcoming year? I don't know where you got 1 point something, but NJ, New Jersey 101 said it was 4.62% was used for staff. What if this board decided not to be like everybody else? What if you decided to make staff and teachers the priority, to keep people in the classroom so you don't have to listen to the tears? What if you today decided to make a difference in the education of the students here? All these innovations are great, but if there's nobody in the classroom, they're not going anywhere. What if you make a commitment? We all know it's hard. And you know what? There are innovative ideas to make this budget work if you talk to the people who are in the rooms, instead of thinking you know it all. Thank you.
So, as a concerned parent,
I apologize.
oh,
Can you
my
just
name
get
is Kristen
for-
Bennett,
Thank you.
123 now.
Thank you.
So, as a concerned parent and an educator, I feel compelled to address the lack of SROs in our elementary schools, in Woodland and Walker, as well as a half-time SRO in the high school. The ongoing stalemate in contract negotiations, wasteful spending, and the questionable hiring, and the broader neglect of necessary building repairs across the district. First, the absence of SROs. This raises serious safety concerns, and in today's world, school security must be a top priority, as we've seen from yesterday. The presence of trained officers at the elementary level is essential to ensuring the safety of our children and our staff. While our middle and high schools have some security measures in place, it is concerning that our youngest and most vulnerable students do not receive the same level of protection. I urge the board to take immediate steps toward allocating resources to place SROs in all district schools. Additionally, the continued deadlock in contract negotiations with our educators is not only disruptive, but also detrimental to the quality of education in our community. Despite mediation efforts, there has been no meaningful progress. Why is mediation not helping? What specific barriers are preventing an agreement? The longer this drags on, the greater the risk of losing dedicated and experienced teachers to districts that offer better compensation and stability. So if anyone wants to come to South Plainfield, join us.
Our students deserve consistency and quality in their education, and losing valuable educators due to a preventable impasse is unacceptable. And in today's economic climate, with a serious teacher shortage on our hands, our children are suffering. It is particularly concerning that some board members have children attending these very schools, yet the urgency to resolve this matter seems lacking. Are they pushing harder to secure a fair contract, where the outcome directly impacts their own families? If board members who have a personal stake in this district are not advocating aggressively for a solution, what message does that send to the rest of the community? Equally troubling are reports of unnecessary spending and hiring and administrative decisions. While taxpayer dollars should be used to support students and improve the quality of education, parents and community members are instead seeing money funneled into what appears to be unnecessary hires. Meanwhile, critical building repairs, including the persistent heating and cooling issues at the high school and Walker and Woodland, are not being properly addressed. These infrastructure concerns impact student comfort, learning conditions, and in some cases, safety. The district's budget priorities should always reflect the actual needs of the students and the staff, rather than administrative expansion. The struggles this district is experiencing are detrimental to this community as a whole. And as a lifelong resident of Middlesex, it's killing us. A well-functioning school district is the foundation of a strong community. When schools are underfunded, teachers are undervalued, as we can clearly see, and resources are mismanaged, has also been noted. It affects property values, discourages families from moving into the district, and ultimately weakens our town's future. A lack of urgency in addressing these issues sends the wrong message, not just to parents and students, but to the entire Middlesex community. We all have a vested interest in seeing our schools thrive, and it is imperative the board take immediate and meaningful action to restore trust and prioritize the needs of students and educators. And I appreciate the board's time and commitment to our district. I truly do, but these concerns can no longer be ignored. Get it together.
I understand why 15 years ago we had 2,300 students in this school. 10 years ago, we had 2,200. 5 years ago, there were 21. Now we have just over 2,000 students. We no longer have a shop. We no longer have home ec. We no longer have the early childhood intervention where the kids get to work with the preschool kids, and we called it a daycare. We don't have that. We have done away with those classrooms to give more classrooms to the schools. That was at Mauger and at the high school. So why are we not utilizing the classrooms that we have? Why do we have to get a trailer? Why do we have to move kids from a school that they had been in to a school, a brand new school, just to make accommodations for a program? Why are we purchasing a truck for $64,000? To replace the truck is what, according to the meeting in February, was. But it was also stated that we spent the money for a $64,000 truck that could not then be utilized to transfer items from school to school because there was no cover for it. So they had to use a van. So why didn't we just buy a van? Why didn't somebody on facilities look into how come we needed a truck when we needed a van? And that was $64,000. Why are we currently hiring teachers and principals at a higher salary than our current teachers are getting? Say it's because you don't have anybody. that's out there that's qualified. But I'm asking, have you gone to the colleges? Have you looked at students that have graduated from our education that we gave them to bring them back here? Because I would assume that probably half, if not more, have graduated from this school system. So I don't understand why we have to go to another district, to pull from another district to bring here at twice the salary that another teacher is making, when we can't even settle the contracts for the teachers that we have, that we're trying to retain. And what are we doing to try to retain them? We're not getting down to the business of a contract. That's what we're doing. Why are we not hiring from within? Why are we under the assumption that the superintendent has given a directive that there will be no hires from within and there will be no hiring of Middlesex graduated students, because that is the perception that's out there. So I think if you want that to change, you need to do something about that. I still don't understand why the board was okay with moving the beloved principal of Hazelwood, who had no bad reviews, whose parents and fellow teachers stood up for him, to now be used as, I don't really know what his title is.
Nobody does.
He doesn't
You don't know what the title is, attendance officer or something?
I don't think he
Still
knows.
getting a principal salary, but then we hired a substitute principal at Midland for $39,000. That's what we're paying out in the budget this month. $39,000 for a principal that we have on staff. Why do we need $4 million in administration salary? And currently, you have on the agenda for tonight, you have 4 positions retiring. So I'm hoping that we'll be able to get some kind of breakage when you hire from them. And I commend Ms. Quinn, who during that vote for Mr. John Celia said no. She was brave enough to say no. I'd like to know from the Finance Committee, why are we taking money from a retirement fund to pay for the substitute teacher? Because that was a line item transfer. We also did a line item transfer for $10,000 for 2-way radios. Not sure who they were for, but I'm hoping that they were used yesterday during the emergency that we did have. On the bills list, we're paying almost $15,000 for bills from July and November of 2022 and March of 2023. In general, how come there are no phone extensions or emails for the staff members? When you go on the website, you can only email them directly through the website, but you have to sign into Google in order to do that. I don't want to sign into Google. I want to use my email to email somebody. I shouldn't have to go through your email, of which I believe is also blind copy to the superintendent, which, as an attorney, maybe you could tell us, is it legal to have a blind copy go to somebody else when you don't know what's going to them? As the board members, you need to do a better job. You need to be more in touch with the community. You do not have to vote yes on every single item. You have a voice, our voice. That's why we voted for you. To look out for our schools, our kids, our town. Like I said, I commend Ms. Quinn for voting no on the removal of the Hazelwood principal. She stood up for what she felt was right. You need to vote for what you think is right and not for everybody to have a unanimous vote. Also, one other thing is, do you know how rude it is that you're sitting at a meeting and there's a table of food, of which I'm not sure if we paid for it or not. Okay? I'm not asking that question. But then in the middle of the meeting, there are board members that get up, to eat that food in front of the people that are sitting here, and then crack open a soda with no problem, like it was a beer. I think it's rude. I think that if you're gonna do that, you should have your dinner when you go into executive session. We all come from work or our families, maybe we didn't have dinner, or offer it, one or the other. But I think it's a rude thing to do. I appreciate the fact that during when you had to go to executive session, you guys left and left everybody sitting in here. Lastly, I'm asking the board and the superintendent to do their due diligence and take into consideration that this town has been through and is continuing to go through tax reassessment for the next few years. My side of town got over a 20% increase. Adding to the additional assessment that we already had. This is a hardship on our town and the citizens of our town. During this time of uncertainty, wars, stock market going down, doesn't seem to be coming up, going down, questionable Social Security, us who are seniors, who are living on our Social Security, and people losing their jobs. This is not a good time to be increasing your budget to 2%. I think you need to reevaluate your expenditures and you need to give the town a break. As board members living in town, you have a vested interest in our schools and our taxes and community. Thank you.
Many speakers who are up here tonight are bound by the constraints of their employment.
I do apologize. Can you just provide your name?
My name is Ricky Gorka, RICKYGORKA. I live at 955 Lincoln Boulevard.
Thank you so much.
Many speakers up here tonight are bound by the constraints of their employment. I am not. My name is Ricky Gorka. I am 16 years old and I am a product of the Middlesex school system. And so are many of you. Yet whether you are or not, educators are the reason why you sit up there tonight. Without the resilience and compassion of the educators any of you have encountered during your formative years, you would not have the privilege to sit around that table. These are the individuals who instilled beliefs in me I will carry to my grave. All with kindness and compassion. You represent our school system, but I have yet to see any of you in my classes. Have you ever actually seen one of our teachers teach? Really see them teach? Many of you in front of me today have never even been educators. As a member of the group you claim to represent, I have yet to see you witness my education. I implore you to sit down in my classes, and if you have me, I'd like to come see your work day as well. Many of you know me for my community work and the previous times I've stood at this podium. I do not hold hate in my heart. In fact, I love with everything I have, but to witness injustice and pass it would be going against everything I stand for. Rachel Carson once wrote, "If a child is to keep alive his inborn sense of wonder, he needs the companionship of at least one adult who can share, rediscovering with him the joy, excitement, and mystery of the world we live in. Never forget that these are the people that live and breathe to form your child into positive members of society. These are the people who kept your wonder alive and continue to keep it alive for future generations. The student population and our families vehemently disagree with the campaign you are pushing in relation to the refusal to update the contracts for our teachers. No contracts, still working, and all of you lose no sleep at night. The students and families of the Middlesex Borough Public School System stand for equality in every classroom, in the workplace, and throughout our entire communities. Thank you for your time."
Good evening. Hi, everybody. I'm Roxanne Kozo. I'm at 23 Sherman Drive. I'm a mom of two boys in the Middlesex School District, one in Woodland and one in Hazelwood. New Jersey is known for having some of the best schools in our country. As a teacher myself, it's our small towns that make our schools great. Our kids grew up belonging to a community, a family, okay? And everyone knows everyone. And ideally, parents and teachers work together to help our children learn and grow. Currently, this is not the feeling. Currently at Hazelwood, my son has a new principal, a new secretary, a new sub for his teacher, no technology teacher, no music teacher, and rotating subs for different coverages, different teachers covering, very inconsistent. Okay? My son knows no one of the people that have come in. No one knows my son. No one knows his special needs. He has no one that he can turn to. This is not what our school has ever been. This was not always the case. And I think this could have been handled better. I've heard that this is kind of the perfect storm of circumstances that have been out of control. Sorry. But that's not true, okay? It's not true. We need to have a district where teachers want to stay here and they want to be here, okay? With the changeover, it's been catastrophic. The climate has changed. There's not a positive vibe going on in the building that once was. The only reason why we have a teacher shortage in our district is because teachers don't want to stay here or be here. And I implore you to talk to your teachers and settle a contract. Nobody wants to stay in a district with no contract. No one wants to come to a district that is appropriate with no contract. Also, I do think that there needs to be more communication, more transparency. I've only found out information about lack of music teachers, changes in staff through other parents, social media, okay? Not from the district, not from you. You guys are elected to represent us, to take care of our children. We trust you with our most valuable possessions in the world. Okay? We trust you to do what's right. And we trust you. We just hope that you understand that you're an extension of us and do right by the parents. And hopefully we can all work together to do the best for our children. Sorry, but like clear than you can.
My name is Victoria Lasalle, and I live at 406 D Street. I am also going to stand up here as an entitled parent, as we've been called, as well as our teachers have been called entitled, of Hazelwood School and our children. I've been at Hazelwood School for the past 9 consecutive years with my 4 children. I have a son there who is in accelerated classrooms that now cries because he does not want to be there. There is lack of communication. I had sent an email with my parental concerns to the principal directly. 3 weeks it took her to respond to me, only because I said, "Where are you?" Our teachers are bullied. Our children are ignored. I have a daughter who relied on that guidance counselor. 1 month we went without a guidance counselor. She also went weeks without a TA in her classroom because she had to sub in those 2nd grade classrooms that my son is also in. So I don't want to hear that every kindergarten classroom had a TA because it was not consecutive. And I wasn't going to bring up Mr. Rich John Killia because that is what our excuse is, right? That's why we're entitled. but that man deserves to know how amazing that school was while he was there. And I'm not ashamed to say it, and I'm not going to be quiet anymore, because I have kids that are crying, and they're looking at the clock when I'm dropping them off at school and saying, I only have 1 more minute with you, Mom, and they don't want to go in. 9 years at that school, never once have my kids felt alone. That man was wrongfully removed from that school. He did an amazing job. 3 weeks. Because if I ever had a concern, minutes, he would respond to me. Call me. Phone calls are made at 4 p.m. Parents aren't answering their phones at 4 p.m. We're picking up our kids. We're coming home from work. It's a disgrace. That school has spiraled like I have never seen in my life. 9 years at that school. This is the first year I have ever had an issue. And it all comes from the top. All of it. That's it.
So I was up here speaking as a taxpayer and educator, and now I'm up here speaking as a parent of Hazelwood School. Hazelwood is spiraling, and not in a good way. My child currently has no technology, no music, and no counselor. Whereas a leave replacement counselor being paid at the top of our guide on the agenda tonight. She originally didn't have a teacher for leave replacement, but after multiple emails and rallying people, you tried to appease us. In what educational world does a superintendent have to send a leave replacement update? A world in which the leader of the building is inept. It was dated February 25th, which was that Tuesday, but was sent Friday the 28th at 3:23. We all know that strategy, right? Well done in proving me wrong though, because I had called it to be sent Friday at 4 p.m. and by the principal, the person who should have sent it. Also, this leave replacement has been working in Hazelwood. So was she qualified and you just chose to not have a smooth transition until people complained? Or is she not certified for this position, but you'll put her there to try to shut us up, even though it goes against everything you claim in your rigorous and thorough hiring process? There was also a day my daughter didn't get gym class legally required because the gym teacher had to be pulled to be a sub in a classroom. I've heard all the excuses. The technology was moved to teach another needed class. No one wants to take a maternity leave. Even people who don't currently have a job that were begged by this principal don't want it. People are getting better opportunities. You can't fault them for that. I get that. But that does not change that you are not providing a quality education for my child. As I said last month, I deal with facts. And the facts are, these were not issues before this year. You could speculate they would have been a problem this year for anyone, but you can't prove it, and I don't believe you. I know as a teacher, when you love who you work for, everyone goes above and beyond. And when you don't, the opposite is also true. Bare minimum of what's required as far as helping the whole is what you'll get. Now, you could also continue with your excuses. There's a sub shortage. There's a teacher shortage. We know. We've been up here warning you of exactly what's happening at Hazelwood. It's just been accelerated by your horrible decision to uproot everything that was working at that school. Hazelwood is an indication of what's to come at all your schools. And yet you still didn't take Carolyn Muglia up on her offer last month to set up a negotiation. You want to use the teacher shortage excuse? Then do something to fix it and negotiate for real instead of trying to strong arm teachers into negotiating their time away. Now, you may not know what other questions to be asking. You're not in all the schools, so here's some. Why has the technology position not been posted? Why has music not been posted? Why was there not a plan in place for a leave replacement they knew about since November? Why can't the principal respond to emails in a timely manner? Why is the leave replacement position still posted when we've been told there's an assigned teacher? Why are adults being made to cry in a school building? Why do our children not want to go to school this year? Why has every transition at Hazelwood been botched and shady? Why is the new safety position or principal on special assignment not allowed in the building if he's in charge of safety? Our Hazelwood students don't deserve to be safe? Why is administration so concerned about a so-called leak of information getting out to the parents if they have nothing to hide? Why is every excuse to place blame on teachers and parents when leadership isn't doing their job? Why did you promise SROs and spend the money on a useless administration position instead? Why is elementary technology being dumped off on teachers who are already losing prep and have no contract? And if you applied for this pre-K this time last year, why was nothing prepared when we finally got accepted? Why was everyone scrambling? My second topic I'd like to discuss is the most condescending letter I've personally received from a leader of schools. It discusses chain of command, which I want to be clear, I followed. And ironically, this response actually didn't follow the chain of command. I was actually proactive in sending an email to the principal concerned about no news of a transition. She dumped it off on someone else who called me and reassured me there would be no transition issues. I'm good. Elementary teachers are a dime a dozen. I felt reassured, and I actually really don't fault them for being incorrect because I believe they genuinely thought Dr. Clark Holmes could handle it. They were very wrong though. And let's be clear, Dr. Clark Holmes never contacted me to ensure I had actually spoken to the person she dumped me on. Yep. The second inquiry was met with a generic letter sent to the entire class. They were in the selection process. Okay, I know that takes time. So 2 weeks later, I sent a follow-up letter asking for demo dates or some sort of time frame she expects. This was met with a phone call, which is clear is another strategy employed by this administration. Catch them off guard. Call as they are picking up their kids or just pick them up. They'll be less combative from out behind their keyboard. Have you met me? Even so, I was respectful but firm. When she instantly blamed the teachers, I said, I don't allow that. You're the leader. This falls on you. And the leader that blames their teachers is not a good one. But the result of the call was she had no candidates and has been begging people and they don't want to work for her. Doesn't sound like selection was accurate. And anyone with children in Hazelwood already know that's the sentiment of the building. My third email questioning an update on how my child has grades for classes she hasn't had all year was returned with an email that says, see the superintendent's email. But none of my questions were actually in that email. She's just assuming that was supposed to shut me up. Well, it didn't and it won't. The sell for this principal was hard. Pancake breakfast, pizza parties. The superintendent answering all her emails. Is she capable of anything? There's no learning curve when you're hired at the top of the guide with a doctorate. The final, most condescending part of that email speaks of people's inability to accept change. It's a cop-out and it's gaslighting. You are trying to place blame on the frustrated people and negate any valid arguments they make as fear. Well, I see things differently. If this is the change, why would I like that? I suggest you all start looking to make a lot of changes because what you're doing is not working for our children, the children you are elected to represent. And for any board member who thinks that they don't run the schools, you're 100% wrong. You are actually our last line of defense in the running of the schools. And I'd appreciate it if you start actually listening to the people you represent. Please feel free to share whatever has you in this haze that things are going well here and it's the best it's ever been. Because you're not getting that from talking to parents, teachers, staff, or actually even some of your own admin. Now, I know you're volunteering your time, and I don't believe that when you allowed the principal of a closet position to be snuck in the summer, you intended these consequences. But that's exactly what they are, consequences of that decision. I'm well aware, standing up here, I'm on track to be teacher of the closet, but these are my children, and you are essentially ruining a significant part of their education. My child, who's been through that school on a computer with a mask, gone through 2 other maternity leaves, which were handled seamlessly, by the way, has for the first time ever started asking to not go to school. She has collapsed in tears as I'm putting her to bed because it was a bad day at school. She can't identify exactly what. It's just not right. So I'm here and I'm not going away. For me, the solution is simple. Undo what you did, use that money elsewhere. Clearly you could use it. You're asking for a 2% increase. But even if you don't do that thing, one thing is very, very clear for Hazelwood. Dr. Clark Holmes is not a sufficient leader. Everyone else is doing their job for her anyway, and I really recommend you do not consider her for rehire.
I just want to say that I understand the passion and I understand everything that's going on. But I also want to, one of the things that we did talk about tonight was our public policy. And I want to make sure that you all understand that the students and teachers and staff have legal rights in the state. We cannot comment on it. However, you may be held liable for anything that you say at that microphone.
Bring it on.
Okay.
Bring it.
Courtney. The person that they speak about can.
You're not
can
supposed to use
make,
people's names.
a legal claim. It's what's correct. They can be personally held. Sorry. Yes, please.
You can be held personally liable for defamation. In the event that it crosses a line.
You should have said that before you.
All right, my name is Courtney McDonald. I'm 9 Daniel Court in Lebanon, New Jersey, and proud fifth grade teacher. Picture this, it's the 1997-1998 school year, and you are a first grader in Carolyn Muslia's class. You just finished an amazing cross-curricular unit on the 1998 Winter Olympics, complete with a torch running off, and it is there you decide you want to become a teacher, just like Miss Muslia. Picture this, it's the 2004-2005 school year, and you are an 8th grader in Maria Sakin's Spanish class. She just had us create a rap song in Spanish of our daily routines, and it is there you decide Middlesex is the place you want to teach. Picture this, it's the 2008-2009 school year, and you're a senior in Paul Bernacci's Human Rights and Genocide class. You just finished a powerful and informative unit on the Rwandan genocide, and it is there you decide history will be your major in college. Picture this, it's the 2014-2015 school year, and you are officially a first-year teacher at Hazelwood Elementary School. You use your knowledge and experience from college and student teaching to give your students the best year possible, all while being inspired by your former teachers. The following school year, you're named head coach of the high school cheerleading team, another piece of Middlesex that is near and dear to your heart. So, why did I take you down memory lane? It's not to show my age. It's to remind you how powerful and magical the teachers in this district are. We inspire, we care, and we deserve more than what we are getting. In the famous words of Maya Angelou, people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. How do you think you are making your teachers and staff feel when we are working under an expired contract? I live by these words every day in my classroom. My students are my life, the reason I come to school every day. 362 students have walked into my life in my 11-year career here, and I've been honored and humbled that they can call me their teacher. The love I have for my students is unmeasurable, but unfortunately, love is not enough to pay my bills or help me buy a bigger house for my growing family. So let's not be the district whose claim to fame is never settling a successor contract in a timely fashion. Do the right thing. Give your teachers, your staff, and yes, even your coaches the contract you so badly deserve. Thank you.
Sorry, I had a long last time.
My name is Linda Rochetti, 316 Falmouth Road, Middlesex, New Jersey. I'm just going to read what I wrote. It's not going to be as enthralling or captivating as everyone else's. We are not from Hazelwood. So away we go. Some of you may already know me. Those of you who don't, I'm Linda Rochetti, married to Carl Rochetti, daughter Mia Rochetti, fourth grade Woodland. I've personally lived in Middlesex for 13 years. My parents immigrated from Poland in 1979, and Polish is my first language. My family comes from very humble beginnings. My mother and my stepfather both retired as facilities managers from Bridgewater, Edison, and later my stepfather from Princeton University. So we are no strangers to how the school system works and how things work as far as getting things done. Many of you know my husband as someone who is dedicated decades to this district by way of volunteering hundreds of hours to the wrestling program and donating thousands of dollars to tournaments and other various donations without hesitation to support all children and all families in town. We chose to stay in town to raise a family, to stay close to aging family members. Something that I personally love about this town because I'm not as fortunate in my upbringing and always sought out a place to call home, and I found that in this town. We are no strangers to opposition and usually tend to keep to ourselves amongst the town drama, but a line has been crossed, and that involves our daughter and her education, who is now in fourth grade and can only read at a second grade level and has passing grades every semester from teachers who, from our experience, are actually wonderful people. These elementary years have been spent at Parker, where I embrace the diversity that mimics the real world. However, we have had our challenges there too. First was COVID, pre-K, kindergarten. I don't want to use that as an excuse because that's not fair at this point. Then first grade happened where we addressed issues about her reading, and we were told that everything will be okay and she'll just grow out of the situation. Well, she did not. Flew under the radar, second grade, still had concerns, but teachers assured us everything would be okay. Leading us to third grade, where she finally did get assistance both in math and reading, left third grade on grade level with no further action as to what was going to happen in fourth grade. Fourth grade, she was flagged. I still don't know how and haven't gotten an answer as to how she was flagged, but she was getting reading assistance from Mrs. Can, who, unbeknownst to us, was told in November, no communication. We had no idea that she was no longer going to be a resource in Mia's classroom. To where Mia's backslid and her teachers were advocating for her, saying that she's a disruption to the classroom. Anyone who knows my daughter or my family, Mia is hardly a destructive girl. She is very smart. Knowing her, you would not even know that she would not know how to read. So we are now in the hands of the child study team. Mia may or may not come out of this with a diagnosis or not, because her personality and her social skills trump the fact that she cannot read, and all of the math questions, all of the math is based in reading, so she is now also not doing well in math as far as her iReady scores go. I was told by staff members at the child study team that we were asking for a solution-based, solution-based situation to our problem. We were told that our options were to either move out of the district or find a school that can help her, which is obviously, I can't use that because that was not either in writing or, I legally can't use that as anything, but it was something that was told to me by a staff member. So we don't, so not only are the majority of our taxes going to education, but we were also being advised to pay tuition at another school, which is obviously not realistic. So we kind of don't know what to do. I'm grateful for my daughter's teachers who are advocating for her, she must drive them crazy all day because she truly is lost and bounces from chair to chair to chair. They also are responsive and helping and advocating for her, but there's still no solid help or solution for her going forward. She does not qualify for the spring tutoring program, which I spoke with Ms. Gomez earlier today. Hopefully she follows through and spearheading some solutions to help my child in particular, to help her get on reading level. And I know from speaking to other parents, I'm trying to advocate for them as well because they don't feel that they can come up and be heard. I'm not the only one, and there are several other children that are falling just below the bubble, who are not being helped and are being passed, but their state scores show a very different story. Things have been broken for a long time. I want to speak on positive change. This leads me to my second topic. How are we addressing all these issues that have been unaddressed? The fact that we need a contract and the staff morale is at an all-time low is a reflection of leadership. At Parker, action was taken by leadership, and there were no questions asked as long as there were results. And there were results at Parker. Woodland has teachers and case managers that show up and they respond, and at least from my perspective, they're willing to do the best that they can in a broken system. Again, I can only speak from my own experience and perspective. Other schools in the district are not as fortunate. From lack of security to expensive ground vehicles that have been purchased and are not usable, to broken windows and lack of air conditioning in special ed classrooms where, and again, I try to fact check my facts to the best of my ability. The AC units were purchased and are waiting installation. And I believe that that's a special ed classroom that's in the basement. Just to name a few of my concerns that I'm aware of that are not related to lack of contract or staffing shortages, actually. It seems, so that being said, it seems that lately egos are as inflated as certain districts' employee salaries. And the only ones who suffer are our kids. When people that are in charge only tell one side of the story, sugarcoat the other side, use AI-generated responses to emails, spy on public accounts while other elected members are not privy to certain information because of conflict of interest. The board that we elected is rendered ineffective in all capacities. Think about that for a second. 5 members on our board are compromised and are not allowed to speak on certain topics. But to end on a positive note, there are mostly really good district employees that show up for our kids despite lack of contracts because they care, they're invested in our community, they deserve security and support, they deserve unwavering encouragement to grow in a competitive field that is ever changing. Please stand up in Blue Jay Blue for our teachers, for our community, for our future, but mostly for our children who deserve nothing short of excellence.
Hi. Wasn't sure if I was gonna come up here tonight, but there were some things that were said that, just didn't.
I apologize.
I'm sorry,
Can you
I
provide your name?
apologize, yeah.
Thank you.
Trish Applebaum.
Thank you.
Twice to come over recording Marlboro. I've been a teacher here since 2001, and there's maybe 1 year I can think of that we came in with a contract. So this is tiring. It's year after year after year. Before I go on to what I want to say, I want to thank all the teachers here for coming out and supporting everybody. Thank you guys. I want to thank everybody in town. Thank you guys for supporting us. We appreciate you guys and know that we hear you and know that we support you as well. So thank you for that. It was said that we should not think about dollar signs and we should think about our students. That's what we do all day. We think about our students. I can promise you that. But is the district thinking about the teachers? You could say something I'm sorry. How do you expect teachers and anyone in any profession to give it their all without the employers giving anything back? Teachers are working multiple jobs to stay afloat, yet they're at a standstill in pay until the contract is settled in an already low-paying professional career. We deserve a fair contract. Come to the table and settle. Thank you.
Thompson. I appreciate all of you speaking, and I feel really bad. I don't have 8 children in the school system now, but I hope that we can get things straightened out because you deserve it. So I'm changing the topic a little bit. So the attorney stated that the Department of Education bases the budget on student enrollment. So I would like to suggest that we re-register and check to make sure that all the students in our schools do live in Middlesex. Because I know the last time that this was done, 7 years ago, I'm not sure if it's been done since then, but 75 students were found that they did not live here. So that's a big chunk of money. So I would hope that you would start to do that, and also checking leases. That's another big thing.
Good evening. Matthew McCord, 559 Ashland Road. Sorry if I'm ignorant. This is my first time doing something like this. So I can ask a question?
Can you speak up?
Oh, I'm sorry. I guess I just want to know if I can ask a question
So
first.
typically it is a public comment portion.
Okay.
We don't necessarily have dialogue back and forth if it's.
My only question was on the budget. I saw a line for a 22% increase for other, and I was just kind of curious what that meant. It's like it's a large increase for that part of the budget, and everything else was a 4% or 2% or 1% increase. But kind of a miscellaneous 22% increase is kind of something that I was wondering if there was a driver or a line item that you guys could point to as far as why that went up as much as it did. Is that a fair question to ask, or is that appropriate?
Is that your only question?
No, I have a statement as well.
Okay, you want to do the statement and then we will see if we can answer that question?
Sure. I'm a Middlesex resident here to support the township teachers in their effort to secure a new contract. I have friends and family that teach in the district, and I have a child in kindergarten at Hazelwood. Being a teacher is not a lived experience I can pretend to understand, nor can I understand all of the effort that goes into mediating or negotiating a contract. What I can speak to is the character and the passion that these folks have for their jobs. In the face of growing distrust and lack of respect in recent years given to educators from the federal government down to students, they still work every day despite having no contract. They provide as much of a service for the parents of this town as they do for the students. So I would like to thank all the teachers present today for their continued service, and to be clear that there are people in town that deeply appreciate the work that they do.
Thank you.
Providing a contract and a fair wage for this essential group of people is the minimum that should be done to give them the respect that they deserve. Please engage in talks with the teachers in good faith, hear their concerns, and stop taking them for granted. Thank you for your time.
I'm looking at the documents that I have, and other expenditures I have as a 2.66% increase. Annette, do you have? And I have capital outlay as the 22% increase.
Okay.
So capital outlay is the infrastructure repairs that we are planning to do for the next year.
I was standing back, so
Yeah.
maybe I missed the slide, but I just the line on that 22%. Maybe that was a misunderstanding.
Yeah, it's actually, other is right above capital outlay.
Okay.
So I think that's just where the numbers got flipped.
Okay.
Okay?
All right, thank you. Thank you for the clarification.
Thank you.
The last time here. Kristen Bennett, 123 Ave. So
So real quick, real short, you've now been presented with tears, facts, pleas, and real life scenarios. Your staff and families have laid their hearts bare to you. Are you ready to do this? That is the question. Will you provide the answers and the solutions that this community deserves? Because we are not going to accept these abuses and the runaround anymore. These teachers and these students and these families deserve the best, and you right now are not it, but you can be. And we don't want sorries, just be.
Jeremiah Carnes, 120 Shepherd Ave. This is just part of what I've been hearing. I'll talk quickly as a council liaison, and then I'll do a spin in a circle, and I'll try and talk as a dad. It's hard to read that. This is just part of what I've been hearing as a council person, and there's a lot more. There's a lot more, from the pre-K all the way up to the high school. I have 4 kids as well, both in pre-K, middle school, and high school as well. Well, my oldest daughter is in Voorhees, which is a blue ribbon school, and I can already kind of compare the differences of what I've seen from them and what I'm seeing here from that. And I guess we're building there. We talked about that briefly when you came in about the child in the chair. And you mentioned it in here that you gave me a shout out last time saying we talked about the child in the chair. But what you forgot to mention, Dr. Freeman, as I mentioned, those children didn't get there by themselves. Parents put them there. They're not alone. Like, they didn't just say, "Hi, I'm a child, here I am." No, there's families behind them. So when we do things, it's not just for them as far as families. I just wanted to make sure that that was noted. It's not just the child in the chair, but it's everybody about that chair that puts them there for the support. Now I'm gonna do a spin. Thank you. There we go. I think you should just admit you made a mistake at Hazelwood. I think you should reinstate Rich. And I think that you should absolutely. And one of your members tried to defame me about not being on the council, that you guys are going to be held liable as well. So it works both ways. It really does. The fact that we are going to threaten each other with court.
I don't want to threaten anyone. What I'm trying to say is that we are not going to respond when you talk about a staff member or a student, that you are responsible for your own statements. The board cannot be responsible for your statements because it's public comment, and you are allowed to say what you want to say there. And I can only stop you if you are using expletives and being aggressive and et cetera, et cetera. Those are the rules. That's what we follow.
Cool. So, isn't that life? So why does that have to be put in an ordinance to say, and who's going to pay for that? So if it does get a one-on-one, are we going to incur a cost as a taxpayer for?
Who's going to pay for what?
If you're liable, why are we using the word liable?
No, I'm not. I'm saying we are not liable. You would be liable for your statements.
Correct.
The board is not liable
So
for.
there's going to be no action between, because I think there's a confusion. People think that there's going to be Board of Education money used.
No. The board is saying we are not liable for anything you say as a member of the public at public comment.
So there's going to be whatever people say up here is not going to be used against them.
It can be by the person you say it about. By the person you say it about, they have legal rights.
And that's just the normal law stuff, like we partly understand. So
Correct.
when it comes to if something does hit that, the finances are on those individual parties.
Correct.
Tracking. So it goes, I wasn't talking to you, Mr. Nicolai. There's a person that I'm saying that disrespected me last time, that was him. I don't want to have engagement with him. I wasn't directing to him. So it's like, that's your role. I understand, but are you going to correct them? All right. So we're going to get here. I don't like being upset with one single person. I can't even think straight because somebody makes silly comments for me that throw off neurodivergent thinkers. If you're going to really think of people, you got to take around and look at everybody. There's so many people different here that you can't even start to deal with that. My brain just went off. So I will just simply go back to the fact that there are a lot of people in Hazelwood that are not happy. They're just not. There's a lot of people in Watchung and Parker and all them that are not happy. I hear it. There's a lot of people in the other middle school, Woodland. My daughter's in it. I can't even think of it. Woodland, not happy. Margaret, not happy. High school, not happy.
That's all of them.
That's it. I know. I ran out on happiness. So it's just like, I'm not too sure if we're being physically responsible. I also remember hearing something about an SRO, and I just quickly want to say that the council did send a draft report, and there was a receipt from the attorney's office that we did put a draft for 3 SRO officers, because we are worried about it as well. We don't want to work things out. And all the money comes from them as well, us as well. So if we can figure that out as well. I didn't do a spin to switch back in council mode. You're welcome. I don't know if that was, but you're welcome, and I like you. It's very hard for people to come up here and talk. People do feel like they're going to be retaliated against. People do feel like there's going to be consequences. There's some brave people who don't care, and there's other people who do care who just don't want to say anything. There's people watching online that care, that are actually texting me saying, "Did you just threaten them?" And I was like, "I don't think she threatened them." But I like zone out because I'm singing some songs in my head sometimes, and you guys are rambling on, which I'm sure you do. But it's like, the biggest thing I think that you could do is admit that there's been a mistake in our education with Hazelwood, and we could start there. I think the simplest part is to just have a conversation about going back to when things were in better times. And when I mean better times, where were the grades, where was the love? People went to there for all their events. You had an ice cream social, people were there. You had an event, people were there. People are sad, they're not going. And that makes me sad, and I don't like being sad. I don't think anyone likes being sad, right? Yeah. So, I mean, I'm gonna shut up because my brain's numb, but I heard a lot of craziness here today, and I'm just gonna process it. I'll go over the video and watch it again. But again, I will say, to be an elected official is not easy. You put yourself on stone, like, you don't know who's gonna say stuff. So thank you for serving. Thank you for being out there. But like you said, you're gonna be held liable for your actions. Thank you.
Hi, Allison Camano, 420 Runyon Ave. I am also a teacher. This is my 15th year here in Middlesex as a teacher. About 10 years I've been living here, and I also have 3 young boys who go to school in this district. So I'm very invested in this district, in this community, and I'm going to be for a while. I do just want to say, I think on behalf of most of the teachers and staff, it's time that we really need to sit down and start negotiating fairly. We've gone on long enough. We've been down this road in many years past as well. And I just hope that we can move forward so everyone has a fair chance at things. Thanks.
Okay.
My name is Lori John Hilliard. I'm a resident of this town, 233 Giles Avenue. This is basically the same comments that I made on September 24th. I'm responsible for these statements. I realize I'm liable. I've lived in this town 52 years. I am the only sister and sibling of the principal of special assignments. This is incredibly difficult. I have severe social anxiety in front of adults. I said this before, I'm saying it again. I do not have anxiety in front of the students that I teach. But I just cannot not come up here. Thank you to everyone who spoke on behalf of my brother. Yes, it is true. Yes, it is true. He cannot go in the school that he attended as a child or as the former principal of Hazelwood Schools. Thank you to the parents and residents who spoke so eloquently. We spoke about our whys tonight, right? Here's my why. My why. They're my students, my family, and I'm so proud of my brother. And it is so heartwarming to hear the impact that he made on his Hazelwood Huskies.
He still is.
And I'm just the same comment that I had in September. I'm heartbroken. I know him in a way that you don't. He's probably home, ready to kill me right now. But he is still heartbroken too.
Hi, my name is Jacqueline Meininger, 511 Decatur Avenue. I have a very different perspective, I think, than most people in this room. I'm not from here. I'm not even from the state. I'm not a lifer. I didn't grow up here. I didn't grow up here. But I think it's clear to see the passion the community has from who was born and raised and who chooses to stay. I'm an educator in another district, so I do have comparisons to compare it to and the lead experience. But I was very easily persuaded by coworkers to move to this town when I was looking for a house. Again, I'm not from the state. The close-knit community that was presented to me was a big selling point. I was always my 5-year plan. I didn't plan to be in this town longer than that, but my oldest is now in kindergarten. When he comes home every single day, loving his teachers and loving the staff members and expressing how much he loves the district here, it's hard for me to look at him and not want to leave when I know all of the people who are supporting him aren't being supported back. It's very difficult as a parent. I can up and go. I don't care. I can move anywhere. I can find somewhere else to be. But to look a 5-year-old in the face and not be able to tell him that the teachers are supported the exact same way he is by the staff is hard. It's really not that difficult. It's not a gray area of where the problem is lying. It's clearly not the people in this room. The parents are here to support them. The teachers are here on their own time, once again, to show their passion and support for the district. You need to give it back. You need to figure it out. Thank you.
Okay, we have been in public comment session since 7:45. I'm going to close the session at this time. What?
Are you saying hearing, not seeing that, or are you closing?
I had not seen you stand up.
All right. Evening again. This would be the last public comment. But after hearing the discussion tonight, there's obviously been a lot of talk about Hazelwood and about Mr. John Keelia. And I just asked the following for maybe 1 or 2 board members to listen. I asked for this motion to be considered after the public comment closes. Pursuant to the Robert Rules of Order, I have to suspend the rules and ask for this motion to be introduced. And this is I'm quoting. I move that the Board of Education direct the superintendent to restore access to Hazelwood School for Mr. John Keelia, principal on special assignment, effective immediately to support and engage in the school community. This is not a motion of enforcement, rather a direction to the superintendent to allow this access in accordance with the board's authority under NJSA 18A1101, which grants the board the responsibility to oversee the district and put the well-being of staff and students. I ask that motion be introduced and the suspension of rules because new business is passed under the Robert Rules of Order. But I ask that motion be introduced and hopefully a second and have Mr. John Keelia's access to Hazelwood be restored, or a direction to the superintendent to be restored. Thank you.
going to close the public portion of the meeting. I don't believe we have any additional executive session. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
I have to take the roll.
Sorry, I'm glad you're not.
I probably smelled, I came back.